Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me for today's video. So there is a couple of things that I would like to discuss today, but before I do, for the people who might be discovering this channel for the first time, this is an Xbox centric channel where I cover Xbox related news that is happening throughout the week. Now typically I do like to script and structure those videos because I like to have directions and just a proper structure. My goal is always to ensure that I stay on topic and get into the actual title of the video immediately. I hate it when I click on a YouTube video and people are just aimlessly rambling on, and it's very clear that they have no real or proper direction. They are just rambling, kind of like I'm rambling right now. But personally for me, I also like to get a little bit better in front of the microphone and just learn how to be a little bit more natural, and the only way I know how to do that and just get better is by just turning on the microphone and just speak. So these videos are more just for me to get a little bit better at what I do. I don't actually expect anyone to listen to these videos. They are more just for me than for anybody else. Speaking in front of the microphone is a skill and it really doesn't come natural for lots of people. So I thought by doing these longer style of videos, it would be the perfect way for me just to get a little bit better. I think of this more as a rambling podcast style of video. These videos are not really planned out. I'm not planning on linking any sources or anything like that. This is more just a discussion where I go over the week's news, just recap a few stories that I did, cover a few things that I did not have the time to cover or missed out on. My Xbox news videos also, I like to keep them related to actual news. I don't really like to cover any rumors for those videos. I used to, but then the rumors and the leaks just got to the point where it just completely got out of hand. I do understand that sometimes news can be slow, but I hate it when I click on a video and it's just a bunch of rumors that people are trying to pass off as news using Twitter and Reddit as sources. Insider Spaghetti Hands 2000 said on Twitter that the next GTA 6 will be released within the year. Now don't get me wrong, I do love rumors, which is why I decided to do these weekly rambling videos. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm better than that. I cover plenty of rumors. They are tons of fun, but sometimes you also just need to get to the point and just pull it back just a little bit. But this is where these weekly news and roundup videos come in. These videos, I just want to have a little bit of fun with them. If you are looking for actual news videos, please feel free to click on those other videos, but these type of videos is just going to be a little bit more free flowing discussion. But that is enough rambling for me. Let's just start with the actual news stories. Now there are a couple of things that I would like to talk about today. We have Ubisoft Plus on Xbox Game Pass. We have Xbox free to play games finally being free to play on Xbox Live, and Microsoft potentially buying Discord for $10 billion. But let's just start off with the first one, and that is going to be Ubisoft Plus potentially coming to Xbox Game Pass. Now this is something that have been making the rounds for a couple of weeks now, maybe even for a couple of months. This is something that people just keep talking about. Now I just briefly want to speak on this, but this is also something that I'm a little bit reluctant about because there is just nothing to go off of. Now it is not totally impossible that this can happen. After EA joined Game Pass, they kind of open up the floodgates for everybody else. Apparently this has been a very profitable deal for them, which I totally believe. I do not think EA Origin, which is their subscription service, have many subscribers, but Xbox almost have 20 million people, and it just gives EA a lot more potential and money, especially with the way that EA make their games. They just have these very bad business practices, in my opinion, where they will just fill all of their games with loot boxes and microtransactions. They can pretty much give their games away for free and they can still make hundreds of millions of dollars. So having the Xbox audience to play their games on Game Pass can be extremely profitable. Now don't get me wrong, EA does have some amazing games in their vault and I am really glad that they are on Game Pass. The point that I'm trying to make though in a very long and winded weird way is that Game Pass can be very lucrative, so I do understand why other companies might want to join. Ubisoft Plus makes perfect sense. I'm just not sure something like this will actually happen. I cannot say for sure, but there is just nothing to suggest that this is actually true outside of some random insiders that is saying that it is. None of those are trusted insiders that I follow, like Tom Warren or Brad Sams or even Jeff Grubb. All of those people said nothing. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't other trusted sources out there as well. It just means that at this point I don't really see any type of real evidence to suggest that Ubisoft Plus might be making their way to Xbox Game Pass soon. Now, I have seen some outlets that cover this, but typically what happens in these cases is that you have one outlet who decides to cover a rumor, and then every other outlet just kind of copy them and also run with the story, and then before you know it, there's just a bunch of people running with the story that is just not true. Now, I'm not saying that this is not true, I'm just saying that there is nothing at the moment to suggest that it is happening. This goes back to what I said about rumors. Hung like a horse 6969 on Twitter said something random. It is just a slow news week, and before you know it, everybody else is just jumping on the story. But back to Ubisoft, the reason why I am a little bit more cautious about this specific rumor is because, for those who might not know, Ubisoft Plus has signed a deal with Amazon Games. Now, I'm not sure exactly the extent of this deal, but I do know that they have officially signed with them. For those who might not know what I'm talking about, Amazon has their own gaming thing going on for them. I think it is called Luna. Now, I don't really know if this service is already out or if it's in the process of being released, but there is a game service on Amazon and Ubisoft did sign with them. Now, again, I have no idea the details regarding this deal. It might not be an exclusive deal. Usually it is. If you take EA for example here, EA is on Game Pass now, and I don't believe they can just decide to say, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna go over to Sony as well. For instance, if you look at Justice League was just released on HBO Max, they can't just now go over to Netflix. They are locked in and they are signed. Now again, Amazon deal, it might be completely different. I did hear that they have something similar to channels where they pick and choose which subscriptions that you want, but I do still believe that you have to be signed in order to be part of it, and I know for a fact that it was announced that Ubisoft will be joining Amazon, so that's the only reason why I'm a little bit cautious about this whole thing. Until I have more detail, I'm just going to be a little bit more skeptical. Now again, I want them to join. Why would you not? It's just more games. I would be more than happy to pay more for Game Pass if they join. I will even be willing to pay $20 or $25 for Game Pass with Ubisoft included. It will be totally worth it for me. It is just still a lot better than paying $70 per game. And I have been thinking about joining Ubisoft for a while now, but it is just on PC, at least as far as I know. Now, I don't have a problem gaming on PC. I would just like to play certain games on my Xbox Series X instead of the PC. And that is also another reason why I think that I'm actually not too sure that Ubisoft will be joining Game Pass. Ubisoft Plus is only for PC players, and I just don't know whether we will see it on console. Then again, as I'm saying this, I also realized that EA Play was only on the PC and then they joined Game Pass, so I guess that point doesn't really make sense. But anyway, the bottom line here is that Ubisoft would be a great addition to Xbox Game Pass, and I would love to see them partner up. We already know that Xbox and Ubisoft have a great relationship. Leading up to the launch of the Xbox Series X, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was heavily promoted on the Xbox Series consoles, and I'm not really sure who helped out who there, because during that time Halo Infinite was just delayed and Xbox pretty much had nothing. They then partnered up with Ubisoft to promote the shit out of Valhalla. You would have sworn that was a completely exclusive Xbox game. Obviously, the irony out of that is that Valhalla ended up playing better on the PlayStation, but the point here is that there is a relationship between Xbox and Ubisoft, so I don't just want to dismiss the idea. As I have also said, this is something that I actually want. Game Pass is the home of some pretty awesome and amazing games, and there is just so many to play there, but having these type of services join them will just boost everything a lot more. Now, I have also seen some indie developers speak out about this. They did share some concerns about Xbox Game Pass becoming too populated with games and then they just get drowned out. Now look, I'm all for indie games getting their shine. We have seen what a service like Game Pass can do for indie games. I saw a while back there was this article that got released where they spoke about games on Game Pass and the impact that the servers have on those type of developers, especially these indie developers. And I do believe that the study found that because Game Pass have so many people, it just helped the indie developers to get discovered a lot more than they would normally be discovered. And I cannot remember the exact details of the findings, but it showed that people will be more open-minded to play a game if it is in front of them, and also by doing so other related games, they will consider those type of related games, I think, to a degree of 5 times more. And they're also 5 times more likely, I think, to go onto the Microsoft store and pay for those games after they played it on Xbox Game Pass. I'm not exactly sure of the precise numbers, but I do believe it was an insane percentage of people who are just more likely to go onto the Microsoft store and buy games. So the point is that there is just so much value for a game to be on Game Pass. Now, the thing that I can say when it comes to the indie developers who are a little bit more concerned about their games being drowned out, if your game is good enough, people will find it and play it. Again, I'm all for those indie type of developers to get the shine. Big games like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, they don't need any type of push from Xbox. They are going to be fine on their own. They have all of the resources to promote their games. Indie games just don't have the budget to market their games, so sometimes they do get drowned out, but at the same time I think there can be a balance. Services like Netflix do very well with more series and movies, so I think that Game Pass, it will be on that same level. Yes, with more bigger games your game might not be so easily discovered, but those bigger games also bring in more people to the service to discover your game. Do you want 50 games on Game Pass with 5 million subscribers, or do you want 200 games with 50 million subscribers? The more people there is, the better it is for everyone. And unfortunately in this case, you do need those big AAA games to sell your servers. No offense to Sony, but that is a big reason why their servers don't really work. It is because there are no true big games. Game Pass is also not just a pool of massive titles, but it is enough to get 20 million subscribers, and I think that says a lot about the value of what they offer. And for me personally, I do think that there are a lot of games that is just very appealing. And I had this discussion also yesterday with a person who said that for them, Xbox just didn't have any good games on Game Pass, and for that I always say that Xbox does have good games, but it's just not for everyone, and that is also perfectly fine. The games that is on the service is just not for everyone. I've heard lots of people say like the sport games and the indie style of games, they just don't like those style of games, but there is also plenty of value for lots of people. But anyway, I'm going a little bit off topic here. The bottom line here is that Ubisoft Plus is a great service. There is plenty of games that I would love to play on the service, and I do think that they will be a great addition to Xbox Game Pass. I do hope that this rumor is something that down the line just turns out to be true. But just moving on to the next topic, let's just talk about free-to-play games that will now actually be free to play on Xbox. Now just allow me to give you a little bit of a backstory and context here. This is not the new announcement, but for context, if you want to play games online for a console, you do need a membership. I think it's Xbox Live and Sony Plus. It does not work the same way that it works on PC, where you can just play online without having to worry about paying a membership fee. This is something that I always thought was really stupid idea, but it is something that a lot of people have just accepted. If you want to play online, you need to pay. Now, I kind of blame Microsoft for all of this because they started this whole thing, I believe 18 years ago. I think on the Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken. It's also hard to believe that that console is that old. It feels like it was just released yesterday. I don't even remember the launch of the console. I was barely in primary school. But the point here is that the console launched and they started this whole Xbox Live thing where people had to pay to play online. And at that time, Sony and Nintendo was not doing anything like that. I think most people did not really make too much out of it, but Xbox Live was a hit. I think there was over like 50 million people or something that signed up. Obviously, Sony and Nintendo wanted to get into all of those things. So with the launch of the PlayStation 4, all of a sudden you had to pay an online fee too. And that is just something that we are never going to get rid of on a console. And most people are fine with it now. But Sony and Nintendo did do one thing that Microsoft did not do, and that is make free-to-play games free to play. And by that I mean, if there is a free to play game like Fortnite, you do not have to pay an online fee in order to play. It is just completely free. Xbox do not have this feature in place. You still need Xbox Live to play free to play games, and this is just something that people have been calling out for years now. It is really silly, especially for Xbox games. If you want to play a game like Halo, a massive fan base for that game exists online. The game is on PC and it is also on Xbox, and for those people they can play cross-gen with each other. I do believe they can play across platforms also. So if you play, for instance, on PC, you can play the game completely for free, but if you want to play on Xbox, for instance, you need a subscription in order to play with your PC friends, and that is just something that it doesn't sit right with a lot of people. And to make it even worse, the free-to-play games like Fortnite, you also need an Xbox Live subscription. So people for a long time have just been calling bullshit on this and said that if you want to charge people for online play, then fine, but can you at least just make those free-to-play games free-to-play for Xbox? And as you can guess, Xbox did not announce that. Instead, they announced that prices for Xbox Live will be doubling, and that just got even more people to just give them a bunch of backlash. And finally, with that backlash, they decided to backtrack, and with that backtrack they also announced that free-to-play games will now actually be free-to-play online without a subscription. And I think they just did that to get some of the angry people off their back. Whatever the reason is, it was very welcome and also very overdue. Now, people have been waiting a very long time for that, but anyway, Xbox made the announcement, and then it just really, we didn't hear anything after that for a while. But this week we did finally get more confirmation from Xbox directly, and we will see this update very soon. Apparently it is not as easy as just flipping a switch. I don't know exactly what they need to do in order for this to work, but I think it's my understanding, based on what I've read, that they actually need to go to developers, and there's a bunch of stuff that they need to do. The point here is that free-to-play games will now truly be free-to-play. Now look, when it comes to Xbox Live, I am a fan. I guess now it's called the Xbox Network, but I really do like the service. I never really minded paying for it. I always just felt that Xbox Live was better than the competition, and a big reason why I felt that was because of what they offered. It is hard to explain, but people who have been gaming on Xbox for a while now knows exactly what I am talking about. Xbox Live is just so iconic, and there's just so many great features. It was always more stable than the competition. I think there is a case to be made that because you had to pay for a service, it just resulted in Xbox being able to do more. And I think the same can now be said for Sony as well. I have heard that their servers have also improved by a massive amount. I think companies are just willing to do more if there is a potential profit involved. Now I can also say that on PC, it works without that profit incentive, but again, on Xbox Live, there is just plenty of great things and plenty of great memories, and I think because of that, people don't really mind paying for it. They always just feel like the service was worth it for them, and still is. Now, I will like to say this, I do believe that Xbox Live is done. I think that service is just not going to last much longer. They already changed the name to Xbox Network, so I guess that statement is officially true. But what I mean by done is that the service will soon just be completely integrated into Xbox Game Pass. Oh, and by the way, now that I am on the Xbox Network thing, for those who might have missed it, Xbox Live did change their name to Xbox Network. So Xbox Network is now kind of the umbrella for the service, and then you find a bunch of other services underneath the Xbox Network umbrella, like Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass and xCloud and many more other services as well. And I think the way Xbox is doing this is they are just slowly but surely going to phase out some of these services. Now that I think about it, when I talk about certain services phasing out, does Xbox Live even still have different tiers? I do remember back in the day there was always like Xbox Bronze and Xbox Silver. I have no clue whether that's still a thing. I do not believe that they are, but I am not too sure about that. But back to the point, eventually I think that Xbox Live Gold will also just phase out. I'm not sure how that will go over with people. I think it means that if Xbox Game Pass Gold, if Xbox Live Gold gets phased out, it means that you will now need Xbox Game Pass membership in order to play online, and that makes things even worse, and that's just not going to actually go over well with people. People already don't like the fact that they have to pay, and I don't blame them, and I think they will definitely not like the fact that online gameplay is locked behind Xbox Game Pass, but maybe they won't do that. Well, I guess we will just have to wait and see. I don't want to make any crazy assumptions, or at least any more crazy assumptions. But moving on, there is another rumor that has been making the rounds, and that is the fact that Microsoft might be looking for another big acquisition, but this time it is not for a game developer, it is actually for Discord. Now apparently they are looking to buy Discord for $10 billion. Now I do not know how much truth there is into this. I have learned not to ever shut anything down when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox. Now the claim here that is being made is that Discord approached Microsoft from their side in order to find out if they will be interested. Now when I heard this, I immediately got suspicious, not because I don't believe that it happened, but just because if it happens, it usually means that companies just want to find out their worth, and it's not actually because they are planning on selling. There is this practice where a private company will just pretend that they are on the market and they want to be bought, so they can find or get a bunch of different offers, and then those offers will pretty much tell them how much they are worth, but it will also tell the public how much they are worth. And usually after that happens, by this point you probably guess what happens next. The company themselves will go public. So Discord approaches Microsoft, for instance. You find out, oh okay, they are willing to offer $10 billion for Discord. This gives Discord kind of an estimate on how much they are worth. Now the public also knows how much they are worth, and right after that Discord will just go public themselves, and it just boost these type of companies. So it is something that plenty of companies do all of the time, where they will just pretend to be in the market so they can find out what their worth is in order to kind of use it as a negotiation tactic when they actually go public themselves. Now, again, I'm not really also sure how Discord will be integrated into Game Pass. I'm guessing that they will just make some of the features available for Xbox somehow. Discord is extremely popular, and I do think that there is I don't think there is a single big streamer or YouTuber who are not on Discord. There is just so many people there. So I also understand that there are a lot of people who's a little bit more nervous when they hear about the news that Xbox might be buying Discord. Everything, I think everyone still remember what happened with Skype after it was bought by Microsoft. It was just this, it was very, very massive, and now it's just a former shell of itself, and maybe they've learned their lesson. I don't know. But again, Xbox have also shown that they do want to focus more on different things to boost the Xbox experience. They even tried to get into game streaming like Twitch, but that just completely died out, and it really should not have. I think that that service had a lot of potential there, but maybe the focus was just in the wrong place. Betting everything on Ninja and Shroud was probably not the best move. I think what they should have done was just create better features than Twitch, and also just make it more enticing for smaller streamers. Twitch makes this massive Twitch takes this massive piece of revenue from you, and it makes you just lower the revenue that they take. I think that can also, or it could also convinced a lot of people to go over. Then again, you also need the audience, and I just don't know whether it would have worked out anyways. For a company like YouTube and Facebook, it's a lot easier to get into game streaming because there is already this massive built-in audience. If Facebook can just get 0.5% of their 2 or 3 billion people to watch their streams, they are already a success. And for those who might not be following, Xbox gaming is starting to grow by massive amounts. I saw a report a while back that showed their growth. I cannot remember the exact numbers, but I do believe that it was extremely impressive. It is just a lot easier for them to get into streaming than it is for Xbox, who has absolutely no built-in audience. It would be awesome if they kept the service, maybe for Game Pass, have this feature where you can just click stream and just basically you can show off your gameplay. But I guess in the end it was just not meant to be. It is easy to sit here now and point out a bunch of different things that they could have done, but at the end of the day, the service just did not work for some reason. People are also just so used to Twitch by this point, it's going to be hard for other people to compete unless you have an audience already built in like Facebook or YouTube. And I would like for more independent people to get into this space as well, as opposed to just these giant companies dominating the space and creating a monopoly. But it is what it is. Anyways, I think I completely forgot my original point. This is the reason also why I script my videos. But just to get back on track here. Oh yeah, I was talking about Discord and the changes that Xbox might actually, or the chances that Xbox might actually be buying them. Honestly, I have no clue whether they will actually do this or if it will be happening or not. If I was a betting man, I would say there is no shot, but I really don't think that Discord is up for sale. I think even if they did approach Microsoft from their side, my guess is that they are going to go public. One thing that I don't know though is that I'm not really sure whether Discord makes any money or how they make money. I don't really ever use Discord. I'm assuming that there's some type of paying feature or structure. Maybe there's a membership. That's how they make money. But anyways, I think that I've touched enough on that subject, so just to quickly move on, I wanted to also just touch on one other thing, and that is indie games. The indie showcase that Twitch had yesterday. I don't know how many people actually watched the stream. I did not catch all of it, but I did see enough of it, and I have to say I'm really impressed by the quality of games that was shown during this event. There is just so many games, and I'm really glad to see that there is a platform that showcases all of these indie developers. There's just so many games that you would have never even guessed that they are indie games, and I'm really it's just really amazing what these smaller teams can do. I also saw so many games that will be on Game Pass day and date, which is another thing that I am really glad about. Sometimes these games just really need and deserve this type of exposure. I don't even want to think how many great indie games get released every year, but we just never get to play them because the developers just did not have the marketing budget. And I am still contemplating whether I want to make a video showing the games that was at this event. I think I will. There was just so many great games, and I think it will be nice just to go over some of them. But anyway, I think I've rambled on for long enough, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for everybody who has joined me. I don't think there's probably anybody left by this point in the stream or in the video. But anyway, again, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.